I was presiding during the last exchange between the great senators from Louisiana and Tennessee, and I just was struck because as a junior member of this body, I get an opportunity to sit in the chair quite a bit. And I would just suggest to anyone, if you want to see someone who came to the floor who predicted this outcome, who said it very, very early on. Senator Corker gave what I call the Box Canyon speech. He did it repeatedly because he could see what this would do if we continued to take hardline positions that really would achieve absolutely no results. And I think he has been a champion in calling out all of us to behave responsibly, to behave in a fiscally appropriate way. And so he has been a great mentor to very many of us who are very new in this body. We don't always share the same philosophies, but I certainly appreciate his willingness to tell the truth and to talk common sense. And that's really why I came to the floor today, because I initially, when I came here, thought I would write a book. That makes no sense. Talking about all the things that we do and what we say, and how what we do doesn't really match up all that well with what we say. And I have to admit that in the last couple weeks, my father's voice has come over and over to me. My father never went to high school, had an 8th grade education, but he was part of the greatest generation, a World War II vet. And he had an expression for his 7 kids in 9 years, 7 of us in 9 years, when we would do things that he thought lacked common sense. He would say, "How darn dumb are you?" And I'm sure you know it wasn't darn, but I will use that in the interest of propriety here. And so I rise today to talk about those things that we are doing now that make no sense. You have heard in the last hour and a half a lot of discussion about fiscal accountability and fiscal responsibility. Senators coming with their perspective on how we need to live within our means. I totally agree. But think about this. Think about where we are right now today, adding to our debt and deficit by a dysfunction that is completely made right here in Washington, D.C. I'm going to mention 3 things. The first thing is the House of Representatives consistently not voting, not taking up the CR, which was negotiated, short term, negotiated, agreed to, but not putting that CR on the floor for a vote. But then voting unanimously, the same people who voted to not let people work, voted to pay people not to work. Think about what the American public sees when they see that we won't let people who want to work. They know their work's piling up. They're committed public servants. We have read, the Washington Post has been replete with stories about people who want to get back to their jobs. They want to be public servants. So we vote so they can't go to work, but we pay them not to go to work. We won't let them work, but we pay them not to go to work. And in the meantime, we don't have anyone to check out disaster counts in North Dakota. We don't have BLM permits that are being issued in Indian country to help the struggling Indian nations in my state achieve some economic parity. We don't have things getting done. And there's no bill over there in this headline CR. That's what I call it. It's the headline CR. Whatever in the headline, we'll pass a bill to fix that. That's no way to run a government. It makes no sense. And let's talk about the debt. Let's talk about the need to control our debt and have a deficit reduction and a long-term plan to paying down our debt. Why is it important? Because we pay interest on that. And every dollar of interest that we pay, that's another dollar that we don't have for Head Start. That's another dollar we don't have for education or research or for higher education. So this is a real problem. So what are we doing? We have people who have said, it doesn't matter. We don't need to pay our debt. We can just decide which bills we're going to pay. And I'm like, every person in America, they know that when they go to check their credit score, if you're going to get a car loan, right? Get a car loan, and you want to go to the bank to get a car loan, they say, well, you don't have a high enough credit score, so we're going to deny your car loan. And they go, but what's the problem? And they say, well, you missed credit card payments, and you missed your mortgage payment. And you say, but I always paid my car loan. That's not the way it works. That is not the way it works. What they know and what the American people know is that if you don't pay all your bills, your credit rating goes down. Your credit rating goes down. And the tragedy of this is that we are not only going to add to the debt and deficit of this country by playing this brinkmanship, we are going to hurt every American who relies on credit, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's car loan, whether it's a student loan. We've now linked student loans to this problem. Think about the dollars and think about what's happening to the American people when we don't do the things that we need to do. We shut down government, but won't let people go to work, won't let people serve the public, but then say, oh, don't worry, we're going to pay you. And then we cost. By shutting down this government, we have cost millions and millions and billions of dollars, adding to the debt and deficit, dollars that we didn't have to spend. And now we're going to play this brinkmanship in our debt limit. We're going to shake up not only the American markets, we're going to add to the interest costs not only of the American people and of this government. We already have in the markets discounting of our Treasury bills. We already have seen exactly what's going to happen. And the longer this impasse stays, the more dramatic this result's going to be. This vote that we took yesterday in the Senate sent a message, and the wrong message, I tell you, the wrong message to the markets. We need to send the right message. We need to come together. We need to lead from the Senate, because the House, which isn't even in session today, addressing this problem, seems to think that there's no problem with the debt limit, that there's no problem with not paying our bills. There's no problem with paying people and not letting them work. And you know what my dad would say? How darn dumb are you? And what I say is, that makes no sense, because as passionate as what I know they are about debt and deficit reduction, the reality is what we're doing is adding to the debt and deficit. What we are doing is justifying a 5% approval rating for the United States Congress. Every day we're here that we don't achieve a result. Every day we're here that we don't solve this problem. How can you argue the American public's judgment is wrong?